Hey folks, welcome to the DaddyGate podcast on whichever channel this broadcast might end up on, with myself, Chancer, and
your boy, Wheezy Fosheezy.
Oh yes, I don't have anything to crack open today, I'm afraid. We're going to have to do a sober one for me.
Nah, that's fine, man. So, if you guys are tuning in right now, this is somewhat of a supplemental to my live stream that I had last night.
What live stream? I don't see any live stream.
So, the joke infers that there is no longer a live stream. So, if you missed it last night, there was a What is Truth podcast live stream. However, it has been copyright stricken out of existence for the moment. And this is the supplemental to that.
That sounds quite mysterious. So it's just disappeared. Was that taken down voluntarily, or?
Nope. It was taken down via a copyright strike where the claimant, little husband, the nipple clamp extraordinaire, is basically crying again, making another yet illegal and false copyright strike. What are your thoughts, my man? I know you tuned in last night, and so I figured, what a great episode. Now that the live stream is no longer up, let's, for those, especially for those that missed it, and even those that tuned in, breaking down. And is there any damn basis for any of this nonsense, man?
I mean, I couldn't believe that it was gone this morning. The reason I asked if it was voluntary, though, was due to James-Nipple-Clamp apparently thinking that you voluntarily took them down. The last ones, remember? So he sent you a message, or it was on his own channel, wasn't it? He put a message saying, "Thanks for taking those videos down. I'd now be more than happy to go on your show because I know I'm in such high demand and discuss things with you, because my ideas are obviously what your audience is looking for." So I just wondered if he thinks that when he strikes it down that you have the option to remove the video at that point. And it's not how it happens. I mean, he knows full well, I'm being a little bit facetious here, I'm sure he knows fine well that he's striking your channel to the point that it is going to be deleted. And anyone who is on this side of the fence should consider that to be wrong, because it breaks the ability of anybody to talk about DaddyGate without the risk of being struck down now through false legal documents. Is exactly what's happened here. False legal documents have been filed, I should say, or at the very, very best, he is severely mistaken about how the law works and hasn't read any of the small print prior to filing this legal document, which is never wise. You should never go and enter into legal action without knowing what you're doing. I know there's a way to do it through YouTube, but it doesn't mean that it's something that should be taken lightly. YouTube's very serious about copyright strikes, and filing them without a basis and without considering fair use, and filing them because you're upset with the content that somebody has put out there about you, even though they don't relate to copyright, that is a good way to get into trouble, not just on YouTube, but off YouTube in court, where it will end up because it is a legal document. So I'm just surprised, man. I'm really surprised. To me, it just shows a level of, I don't know whether it's arrogance or stupidity. The two, of course, go hand in hand very often.
Incompetence.
Yeah,
it's everything, man. I don't understand it. Like, I showed you the screenshot of him replying again today, right? And I know you talked about it a little bit, but let's read it. So, I first found out that my live stream was no longer active from you. You messaged me, and you asked me,
where is it?
Yeah, where is it? And I'm like, what are you talking about? Where is it? And I go to check, and sure enough, it was copyright stricken last night. And apparently
it's not copyright.
It's a fucking joke, man. And then he writes to me on a comment thread on one of his videos on his YouTube channel. "Please, can you stop posting videos about me and publishing my private photographs that have been hacked from my computer?" If you continue to do so, I will have to make a formal complaint against you and will have no other option than to seek legal action. If you post another video, I will be in touch with Tampa police to see what can be done to stop the harassment. You are inferring that I am guilty of something and encouraging people to publish libelous comments about me. What am I inferring? What are you inferring? People
What
are
law?
inferring. You know what I'm saying? I
law?
could turn that shit around completely against himself.
Where does inferring come into? Like, who cares? Like, how does he know you're inferring? For a start, how does he know what you're inferring? It's not going to work in court, this one, I'm afraid. You can't say that somebody's inferring something and encouraging people to do things. You don't have the power to dictate to your followers by inferring something to suddenly make your followers, subscribers, etc. send messages to James-Nipple-Clamps. Something which he's shown no evidence of, by the way. But how does that relate to you? People are responsible for their own actions. Nobody should be messaging or harassing James-Nipple-Clamps. It's not something that I certainly don't believe that you've ever called for the harassment of James-Nipple-Clamps. And it's certainly not something that I would call for. I wouldn't infer it either. Just because you're critical of somebody and other people agree with your criticism, it's on them whether they want to get in touch with somebody. So I don't know what road he's trying to go down with this one. It all seems very odd. He seems to have a very, very bad understanding of, I don't know whether this is British law or American law. I know certainly he's threatened to get the police on to you and me for some reason, but this was the other day, wasn't it? After the first live stream, sent you a message.
Last night I kind of went over the copyright strikes and everyone. So to catch everyone up, I now officially have 6 copyright strikes from the Sean Atwood Camp and Associates. I've had 3 copyright strikes from Sean himself, one of which fell off my channel. Okay. And then he then gave me another copyright strike on my main channel for responding to the Cali Sean interview that was only a couple of weeks ago. I then we essentially got a copyright strike on the DaddyGate channel. So that's 3 right there from Sean. And there's 3 from Mr. Nipple-Clamp, who gave me 2 on my main channel. And he gave me 1 on my new channel, the What Is Truth live streams. So last night I broke down. I showed the DMs. I showed his threats. I showed his blackmail. And I put those on the screen. And, it doesn't make any sense.
I just found it to be threatening to call the police after, the police would I'm sure be very interested in many elements of this story, including certain messages that have been, there's lots of evidence going all the way back, messages that have been saved, videos, things that have been emailed to people, and things that have happened, and suggestions that have been made about, for example, being able to procure an abused autistic woman's outreach worker for the purposes of going on a show. Now, if that wasn't a true statement, I'm sure the police would maybe be wondering why that was said. There's very many things that the police would be interested in this story, and I would absolutely welcome them to go through my entire back catalogue of videos and messages that I've sent to people if they wish. I've got absolutely nothing to be concerned about there. I find it odd that I was getting brought into it in private messages from James to you, but it doesn't bother me. Bring it on. But I would say that it is very silly to take things off YouTube. Deal with it on YouTube, and also don't be striking people either, because to me that's taking it off YouTube. You're taking it into the court system when you do that. They're playing very dirty here. They're not being very it's unsportsmanlike to do what they're doing. The only people that threaten to call the police, in my opinion, are people who are scared of the police themselves, because they think that can be used as a threat. I don't care if someone threatens to call the police on me. I'll just
to hide
say hello to them. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
it's fine.
Go ahead and call them. And that's what I told him. I go, you want to get the cops involved? I'll help you get the cops involved. We'll call the cops, and I'll show them your blackmail and your threats. I'll show them all this. So go ahead and get the cops involved. I got nothing to hide. I got nothing to worry about.
You cannot use threats to strong arm people into taking action that they don't want to take. That is blackmail. It shouldn't be done. It's quite serious, actually, to do that. And again, that's why I think it's just silly to take things off YouTube or off social media, let's say, because Twitter DMs go back and forth and things like that. But what they're trying to do here is effectively destroy your ability to talk about DaddyGate. That's what's going on here. Some information has got out in that interview that you did last time about Callie's, the video of Callie, the autistic, vulnerable sexual abuse victim, who Sean Atwood, as the podcast host, filmed naked all over his flat and dressed as a little girl, in Sean Atwood's words, ready to perform some kind of act upon him. It got out that video was actually not part of a prank, but it was for Callie's adult work website, or adult services website. That shows, at least to me anyway, it certainly adds a lot of credibility to the idea that this was a huge cover-up. Atwood was trying to get ahead of that information coming out. He knew the naked photos had leaked. He therefore thought, somebody's got into Callie's adult work website. That means that video is going to get leaked. So I need to release that video and say that it was all a prank. Because that's, this whole prank thing never made any sense. It makes sense that he's hastily cobbled together some excuse and pushed it out himself to try and get ahead of the story. And, that's quite rightly how Hev described it as well in her reaction video that she's got on Odyssey, which I watched the other day, and I thought was pretty spot on, because she recorded it all the way back pretty much when it happened. And she said exactly that. This is to get ahead of a story. This is what they're doing. They're trying to get ahead of something. And the fact that video, and James-Nipple-Clamps said on your show that video was for Callie's adult work, it just shows that it wasn't a prank. It was literally, they thought it was going to get out, just like the news had, and that's why they put it out. It was to get ahead of the story. So I think that's why they're trying to strike you down, because that piece of information gives the public more knowledge. Knowledge is power. It gives us more knowledge. It really rounds off some of the things that didn't make any sense about the whole thing. It adds a real piece of the puzzle that makes it look like it really makes sense now. You can really see what's happened now. And I think that's maybe why they're striking you down. I don't know all this about
nipple clamp.
You're saying he's got private photos that have been hacked off his so he's got a photograph of himself with Sean Atwood patting his head on his computer.
With a leather leash. He's shirtless with nipple clamps. And I'm going to repeat it. For those that caught me on the live stream, I gave a pretty good description. I was serious. That's the thing, man. When I start recording these live streams, I get in the zone. A lot of times I just roll with it. I don't know. I don't plan. I don't have any notes. I just roll with it. And I did listen to that part again, and I started laughing. I'm like, but that's what I could only picture. Little husband just crying as he's listening to that. Like, probably breaking some things on his desk, just
trying to.
Yeah, trying to. Yeah, I'm gonna smash. I'm gonna take out my anger on this. I'm gonna break this, and he's struggling. So then he just starts crying instead.
And that's why he strikes out with a legal document, a falsely filed legal document against you, because you can't use a copyright claim to. Even if someone comes out and slanders you and says many things that are, let's say, illegal about you, you can't use a copyright system to strike that down. You've got to go through the correct means to do that. Some of which would be available to you to do through YouTube.
Well, let me touch on the Sean Atwood copyright strikes. Two of them. One from my main channel, the DaddyGate channel. I filed a formal counter complaint or counter strike, and YouTube almost immediately approved it and sent the process in motion over to Sean.
Mm-hmm.
When as far as the nipple clamp strikes, I didn't immediately get anything back from YouTube, and maybe they were processing the information. I don't know what happened. So I think, I'm only theorizing right now, but I think the reason Nipple Clamp filed a third one against me on a different channel was because he had never gotten the official notice from YouTube. So he felt emboldened, he felt brave, and he thought he could get away with it. However, at around 3 o'clock in the morning my time, I got an email from YouTube saying that those had been processed. So every single counter strike has been processed except the one from today. I submitted a counterclaim for that one today, and I'm sure the same thing will happen. It will be processed and viewed as an unauthentic counter. So
it would have to be. It would be completely unfair if they didn't allow you to fight back against this, because this is abuse of the copyright system. Something that's well known to be doable on YouTube. You can abuse the copyright system, but it shouldn't be allowed, and it shouldn't be easy. And we can only hope that this is. I mean, I'm glad you're going down this road, man, because I know it's not an easy thing to go to do. You know what I mean?
Well,
but
I'm lucky.
Unfortunately,
I'm lucky. I've got the family and friends, man. You know, and it's not just them. It's my subscribers that see the injustice going on. It's so blatant. Last night, he threatened me that if I talked to him, he would do this and that. He would do more copyright strikes. And I told him, I am not going to be threatened. I'm not going to be silenced by your actions. And so I did a live stream on that. And sure enough, he decided to copyright strike me illegally. And this is coming from...
I'm a cameraman.
There you go. I'm a cameraman. All night, that's all we heard was...
I'm a cameraman.
Over and over.
I'm a cameraman.
I just played the clips right now. I know you didn't hear it on your end. But you know what? I'm going to play the clips from last night since the stream is over. So
yep.
I think that's more than likely part of the reason. It's not because he's butthurt that I continue to talk about him. I think Sean Daddy pushed him into doing it again because the interview we did last week now has gone essentially somewhat viral. You know, for a channel that small to get going on 6,000 views already, it's gone pretty viral. You know, in this section of the internet, anyways. And it was damning. It exposed DaddyGate for what it was, for everything that we have been calling it, you know. All the holes in it, no answers. The only answer was...
I'm a cameraman.
And that's all we heard over and over. So, again, I kind of relived that, you know, the past weekend. And I played some of the clips. So, you're going to hear silence on your end, Chancellor, but I'm going to play the clip. You know, you mentioned earlier that Callie was playing the role of a decoy, and you know it was an elaborate way to catch. So why was Sean Atwood playing the role of the pedophile? Why was Sean playing the role of the pedophile? Crickets.
It's a valid question because that is what was happening. This was that video was supposedly supposed to take down the kind of people that he was playing the role as. So many people want the answer to this question. It might be a difficult one to answer, and it might be a very, very, very irritating question to have to hear. However, if that's not what was going on, please explain what was going on.
Yeah.
Why was it not just Callie on her knees? Why was Atwood sitting there getting his pants undone?
There's no answer to it, man. It's a 10-second clip, and you're going to tell me it's a prank. One of the questions I wanted to ask him, and obviously a lot of this shit comes hindsight, 2020, but I wanted to ask him, I go, please explain how that, you know, the 10-second clip, the nudes on his couch, or all around his house, how is that used as a trap for pedophiles? You know, explain it to me.
Yeah, behind a paywall as well.
Yeah,
on a website which doesn't give the name. You know, you don't get the names of the people that pay for the for the content on those websites. It's not like it gives you their name. So how is it meant to trap anyone?
Well, and I brought it up that night to him. I go, the whole Occam's razor. What is more likely? And I brought it up a couple times, and he didn't blatantly or explicitly agree with me, but he heard my point. He wasn't that stupid. And same thing with the whole thing that you and I are always guessing. And every time I pushed him on that, what are we guessing about? All we heard was crickets.
Sometimes you do take a guess, but you show your thinking. You don't just guess and then don't show any backup. So, for example, you might guess that Sean Atwood buys subscribers. That's a guess. You can't prove that Sean Atwood buys subscribers. But when you point out the discrepancy between the views that he's got and the subscription numbers that he's got, and the fact that Sonia Poulton recently said in court that she speculated that he may buy subscribers as well. That's a former business partner of his speculating in court that Atwood may buy subscribers. If you don't know about that, have a look into the details of that case. I'm going to try and do a video about that, but I've had so much going on that I haven't really been able to sort it out yet. But that's a guess. I'm guessing that Atwood buys subscribers because his channel appears to be completely dead otherwise. No. But you show your thinking. You point out to the fact that Sonia Poulton said in court that she believes that it may be the case as well, or she certainly speculated and asked for evidence that it wasn't the case. She said that it's very common that people buy subscribers, and this is a former business partner of Sean Atwood saying that, so it's fairly damning. And then you look at the actual views that he gets. I did a little calculation. I looked at a video that he had, 429 views he had on that video, and this was one of the videos he'd posted in the last 3 hours, so I didn't trawl through his channel to actually find it. This was when I was sort of doing some research for the video that I was going to put out. This video had 429 views, so it had 0.06% of his audience had watched. Statistically zero. Statistically zero of his audience had watched that in 3 hours, and that suggests that the channel has a large amount of subscribers who have all recently passed away or don't actually subscribe to his channel. Now that's a guess.
Care, I think even the real ones. So I definitely agree. There's a lot of fake ones and stuff, but I think even the real ones maybe liked an Epstein video that he did years ago and never unsubscribed, so that can also account for the lack of interest and activity on this channel.
Hundreds of thousands, a discrepancy of 0.06.
Yeah, that's terrible.
That's really low. I mean,
it's almost as terrible as having 2 million channel views and only 3,000 subs. Yeah, like little husband,
how many years?
Nipple-Clamps boy. I'm gonna keep talking about that clown, man.
You can't diss somebody just for wearing nipple clamps. I mean, of course, it makes them the most submissive it is possible to get to another person.
A certified beta male. He was on a leash, wearing his nipple clamps, sweating with his shirt off, smelling like pork rinds, and when his handler, what do you call those people? His domineering half?
Dominatrix.
Yeah, his dominatrix had enough of his answers, yanked on that leash. Come here, boy.
Put a gag in his mouth. Did you stop speaking at that point? Popped a ball gag in his mouth. But what James thinks that mockery over his own actions is cyberbullying now. This is what he's claiming. He's claiming that you're cyberbullying. Now, I am more than happy to back up everything that has been discussed. You know what I mean? Like, with reasons. Yeah. It's not cyberbullying. We've got multiple messages from
James-Nipple-Clamps
before we've ever spoken to him. I've got multiple messages from
James-Nipple-Clamps
on my channel recently, and some going back further, which he may have forgotten about posting, where he says things to me that if I was going to take the same attitude as he is just now, I would say, well, that's cyberbullying, you know?
Yeah, Has he ever told you this?
I'm a cameraman.
That he's a cameraman?
I don't think he's mentioned that to me yet.
I'm a cameraman.
Oh, man. Again, man, when you study, I put all the DMs on last night's live stream, and people could judge for themselves.
Yep.
It was clear as hell that it was all empty threats, no substance behind it. And then he used a tactic that has been repeated by many in this journey and this saga, whatever the hell you want to call it, where he attacks me, he tells me this, he tells me that. I say a couple words. One of my responses included, all it included was an emoji smiley face with stars on its eyes. And then he turns around and calls me a cyberbully. Meanwhile, he's writing me paragraph after paragraph of all these threats, all this harassment, but I'm the cyberbully?
We don't we don't contact him. It's, like, it's not like we're like constantly messaging him or something like that. He doesn't need to tune into this podcast.
Yeah.
He doesn't need to tune into yesterday's podcast. He's choosing to tune into these things. It's not cyberbullying when somebody, first of all, fires the first shots.
Yes.
Second of all,
yes,
when they tell you that, oh, well, we're okay now. Like he said to you yesterday, after saying that you were cyberbullying, he says, I've got no problem with you now, man. I'd be happy to come on your show.
And then threatens me again. If I ignore it, maybe tomorrow he'll message me again, say, oh, we're buddies now, man. It's all good.
Yeah.
Water under the bridge.
It's just ridiculous, a ridiculous way to behave. And if he wants to take it off YouTube and take it into the legal realm, he's more than welcome to do so. Yeah. And see how ridiculous that gets perceived as by, I would presume, the police would not be taking that seriously at all. And as I say, they'd be far more interested in all the things that have been going on in the background.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Like, these are intimidation tactics.
So all it is.
Yeah, and you and I, funny enough, that day when Mr. Little Husband Nipple-Clamps boy started messaging me over Twitter, you and I were talking over the phone. Remember that?
Yeah.
And as we were talking, I was getting these DMs. I'm like, oh my God, bro, he's sending me messages. And what was my reaction? Was I crying? Was I sad? Or I was laughing my ass off, man. You were a witness to that, dude.
You were, dude. You found it extremely funny. You found it a lot funnier than I would have. You know what I mean? It's, you saw it for what it was straight away. As you say, an intimidation tactic, but intimidation tactic needs to come from somebody that is, at the very least, got the moral high ground to actually use it. Like, if you've done something wrong, then an intimidation tactic might work against you.
Yes.
But when you've only been talking about things that have actually happened, your intimidation tactics don't work for me. You just look like you're getting desperate.
Not only that, man.
I didn't bring him into this, and you didn't bring me into this. He brought me into this in your private messages between each other after the whole show that you had, where you said to me numerous times, I'm just going to give it a fair chance. I'm going to give him a fair chance, see if we can get some information out here.
I did give him a fair shake, man. I was respectful to him, given the circumstances of the whole thing, where we saw the thing in complete polar opposites. I was as respectful as I could be. You know what I'm saying?
It wasn't a setup on your side of things. It was a setup on his side of things.
That's exactly what it was, man. There's no other conclusion to come to, but it was an obvious setup, because to hit me with made up and completely fabricated copyright strikes only confirms this.
It does. It's just, that is, I still can't get over that, because it's just not the done thing. You don't do that. The kind of people that do that are the lowest of the low on YouTube. And it isn't going to work out well, because him being annoyed by what you've said is not the copyright system. And if he feels that private photos, as he says, have been hacked from his computer, which maybe has happened, then he needs to contact the police about that. Do you know what I mean?
But
and then he needs to
pictures
say,
were on the public domain.
They were all from Google, weren't they? Google Images.
He's trying to make it sound like maybe I hacked into his shit.
Yeah, so you hacked into his
my
computer and
God.
took a
You
photograph
can't
of
make
him
this
off
shit
his
up.
computer and then put it on your thumbnail, because that would be sensible.
Yeah. Well, and as part of my counter,
Like, you would just, why would you do that? You wouldn't like, all right, there's loads of photographs of James
Nipple-Clamp.
online, but I'm
Yes.
going to hack his computer and take one that he will know has been hacked from his computer and use that.
Yeah.
Like,
It makes
come
no
on.
sense. It's a clear lie. No other way around
it's a lie.
it.
It's defamatory. It's defamation to say
It's
that.
abuse of the copyright system. Everything. You can throw the kitchen sink at it. There is nothing legal about this one bit at all. He has he has zero claim. And this is what I said last night. I go, any judge, it doesn't matter if it's in the US or if it's in the UK, is just gonna, I said was gonna laugh it out of court. This is so ridiculous. They would probably be pissed off at Little Husband for wasting time for such
Well, it's
a
happened
bullshit
before.
claim.
There's a precedent with Akilah Hughes versus Carl Benjamin, two YouTubers, and Akilah Hughes, her messages were brought up in court, the messages that she'd put on Twitter, as well as DMs and other messages to the person that she was suing, Carl Benjamin. This was all used against her to show that she had bad faith and she was raising the copyright strikes in bad faith and that she had abused the copyright system, and she was, therefore the judge said she has to pay $40,000 in costs. Now, you wouldn't automatically get your costs in a copyright case, but because it was so much bad faith had been shown, she got hit for that $40,000. It was a reasonable request from Carl Benjamin, who had been dragged into the court system by somebody who was actually out there trying to damage his channel, not somebody actually caring about copyright. And actually, very entertainingly, Carl Benjamin actually just did a straight re-upload of her content. He didn't actually do any commentary or anything like that. The fact that the straight re-upload had an entertaining title was enough for the judge to find that it was fair use, spot on 100% fair use, and that he'd done it for the purposes of criticising Akilah Hughes. So bring it on, I say. I know some people laugh and think, haha, you know, we don't like Wheezy or we don't like Chancer, so it'd be great to see this fail. That's the wrong attitude to take. Yeah. You know, everybody should be galvanizing on this side of the fence, in my opinion, to let bygones be bygones between each other. Let's all get back on the same side, realize that there's strength in numbers, and that we should all be taking this side against an injustice here, which is copyright strikes getting used to silence the discussion of Sean Atwood's cover-up. Yeah. That is what's going on here. They're trying to silence discussion of his cover-up. So if they succeed in getting you taken down, no doubt I am next. 100% they will try and do the same thing to me. I think everyone should be getting not just behind us, but we should all be on the same team. You know, we should be behind other people who are talking about this situation, because we're all going to lose that opportunity if this is allowed to happen without any backlash against it.
100%, man. And it's just so hypocritical on so many levels. Mr. Atwood likes to be someone who portrays himself as someone on the side of freedom of speech, and, you know, violating, abusing this copyright system. And now it's not only him, he's got his little submissive on board with completely bogus, man. Malicious, bogus, whatever word you want to use, man. And it's ridiculous. And the thing is, I started yesterday's live stream on a happy note. And even right now, my voice is a little accelerated. I just think it's annoying. But it's not. It doesn't hurt my feelings. I'm not crying over it. I'm not sad.
It's very annoying.
It's annoying as hell. That's what it is.
It forces you into what could potentially be an expensive situation. There are costs associated even with filing a counter notice, and depending on how you have to go about it. Yeah. So they're forcing you to have taken action that you didn't need to take, and it's absolutely ridiculous. I just think it's bang out of line. I really do. I just think it's completely out of order. They've done it on purpose. They're trying to sting you. They think that it shows a losing. They're acting like they're losing.
The truth, now. Man. To me, and maybe we've already touched on it a couple times, but to me it only confirms that last weekend's epic live stream, as I've called it over and over, and I think most people would agree it was epic in every sense of the word. I think that stream destroyed the DaddyGate narrative 100%. So if there was people that still, were on the fence about Sean Atwood and the whole thing, if you listen to last Saturday, it was destroyed top to bottom. And I'm not saying that I'm not taking credit for the showing at all, man. This was a team effort. You helped me with some of the questions. The subscribers submitted their questions. This was a team effort. And with that live stream, and again, I'm not taking the fucking credit by myself. I'm giving everyone a credit, from you to the inner circle to everyone that subscribes to the channel and helped out with the investigation with the questions. We all were part of the last Saturday's stream, and it destroyed DaddyGate 100%, in my opinion.
Destroyed the cover
so
up.
Damning, and this is why they've come out with a flurry of bullshit copyright strikes, because it was so damning. Panic. It got destroyed, man.
For you to have received 6 claims, I know a couple of them were given, a few weeks ago now, a couple of weeks ago now, but for you to have received 3 claims in the last 24 hours, is it a week? I can't remember. My memory's all over the place. But for you to receive
it's less than a
3
week,
claims in quick succession, it's a clear attempt at trying to. It's like as if they don't care anymore. Do they not care about their own channels? I mean, I wouldn't be throwing around false copyright claims.
Maybe they're throwing the kitchen sink out because they know how damning this is. So they're gonna go all out. They're going nuclear. They're going scorched earth, bro, with this kind of shit. It
just seems like they're losing, or they've done it before, and they think it's a clever tactic. But it's just a ridiculous thing to do. There's enough criticism out there about us. The copyright strike system was never something that we used against anyone. Hence why there's still criticism up. It would be like us striking down some of James-Nipple-Clamps videos just now because there's a sign in the background or something like that. It doesn't work that way,
Can you imagine? And I brought this up last night. It's just people not being able to criticize any public figure.
That's what they want. They want that kind of setup. They want it so that Jeffrey Epstein can copyright strike Sean Atwood for talking about him.
Yeah, the estate of Jeffrey Epstein.
Exactly.
Filing copyright strikes on fucking Sean Atwood for defamation.
Yeah, just filing 100 copyright strikes on him for like a quarter of the videos he's done on him. Not even for defamation, just saying it's copyright, providing no evidence of it, just saying this is a copyright issue, and that's it. Just letting YouTube remove his channel.
Yeah, Ghislaine Maxwell coming after Atwood for using her image on his thumbnails.
Yep. Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? It's the same shit. This is how ridiculous
he wouldn't find that fair. He'd want it fought. He would want to fight it. He would be appealing to his subscribers if his channel was still up to say, please help, this is unjust. And it would be unjust. That would be unjust. And I would say so. That would be ridiculous. But they're happy to do it to us because they know the wider public at the moment isn't yet aware of what's going on. And this appears to be their way to try and stick the cork back in the bottle, so to speak. Slowly just scrub out one of the people that's talking about it. As I say, I'm sure there's going to be others who are next if this is allowed to go on, and that's them. They're trying to smooth it over. This is like them our game plan is just now to sort of smooth over, get rid of these ones. It's not going to happen. You cannot stop people talking about this, and they need to be very careful, because what happens when you actually push people into taking rash decisions, or you push people into feeling that they've got no other options, they need to go nuclear back on you. And that could mean, in the case of what we're seeing now, having to defend strikes through the proper channels.
Yeah.
Well done for filing a false legal document, because that's what happens when you take things too far. It's the same if you take things off YouTube. That is a can of worms that you will never be able to close if you try and take things off YouTube. But bring it on. Great content for us anyway.
Yeah, 100%. And, just touching a little bit on that front, my secondary channel, What Is Truth Live Streams, was able to pick up 1,000 subs in less than a week.
Yeah.
And it's picking subs. So if you guys haven't subbed, if you guys are subbed to my main channel, or if you haven't even subbed to my main channel, please do. But if you are only sub to my main channel, my secondary channel is What Is Truth Live Streams, please subscribe, because I don't know what's gonna happen. I don't know. I'm cautiously optimistic, but I'm not gonna hold my breath. I'm fully aware that my channel could be taken down, my main channel, and it's not the end of the world. I'm good because they're trying to intimidate us into stopping any coverage because they know we've destroyed the entire DaddyGate narrative. So now they're trying to silence us and keep us, intimidate us into not talking about it. But it's not going to happen, man. So everyone, please subscribe to these channels. And I also have, so obviously you're probably subscribed here to the DaddyGate podcast, so keep subscribing if you haven't. And I have another channel that my buddy BH sent a joint channel called What Is Truth TV. Now I know it sounds maybe for some people like, oh my God, you got so many channels. This is why. This is exactly why we have these backup channels. Because of complete and utter nonsense that, you know, like we covered in this whole entire little talk today. It's complete garbage. And this is the reason why we have these backup channels. Had I not my backup channel, you know, the What Is True live streams, I wouldn't have been able to do any live streams this weekend.
Yeah, the importance of backup channels and people subscribing. If you want to follow along, you know, it's not about numbers. It's just about if these channels go down, there's not really any other way for us to broadcast anything out to people again on YouTube. And of course, that is what people want. But the people that want to follow along, please do subscribe to your backup channel because you're under serious attack at the moment. I'll put mine down as well in the description, Chancer's Paradise. Please subscribe to that because I've got a funny feeling my channel's going to get hit with something. Probably 3 strikes at once. And we'll see where that goes and how that works out for people. But yeah, you know, it is important to just to subscribe to backup channels. It's not, you know, I don't have any content on mine, but it is just extremely useful just in case things go down the pan, as we would say here. And also, we're on Odyssey, and I do very much like Odyssey, so I would definitely ask people to subscribe to us on Odyssey as well, because that is proven to be a very useful tool against these false copyright strikes, because things which YouTube, out of I wouldn't say an overabundance of caution, but YouTube certainly, if somebody files a copyright strike, YouTube assumes they're not stupid enough to have done that falsely. Therefore, it follows what it needs to do, which is to remove the content. It's not that it's made a decision on whether the strike is valid or not. I think they do take a quick little glance over it just to make sure it's not just full of people swearing or something like that. But apart from that, they will remove content, whereas places like Odyssey, BitChute, which I'm on both, are handy because not for breaching people's copyright. You and I are not into breaching people's copyright. We don't want to breach copyright, but it's very, very, very useful for news reporting on this situation where false copyright strikes will be used by the people that don't want our audience to know what's going on. And that's what they want everyone kept in the dark. These are supposed to be called truthers, these people. They call themselves truthers. They believe they're in the truther community, which is a load of ridiculous bullshit. And it's obviously they are hypocrites. It's the actual hypocrite community that they're in. But yeah, so backup channels are important at the moment, definitely more than they've ever been. It's a good thing you had that channel set up.
Yeah. One thing I've been able to get out of this, going through this whole copyright process and countering and all this crap, I just get the feeling that, unfortunately, I'm viewed as guilty, and I'm trying to prove myself innocent. You know, these claims are completely bullshit. They're completely nonsense. There's no merit to any of these, and yet I'm the one that has to prove myself innocent. And maybe that's by design. It's ridiculous all around, and it doesn't matter because it's getting fought. And I mentioned this last night. If Sean already has one copyright strike, I wouldn't be surprised if he already has at least one on his name. And how sweet would it be if these 2 get overturned, these 2 Sean Atwood, and that would be number 3. And I would relish in that. I'm not going to apologize for what I just said right there. I would relish in it, and I would welcome it after all the BS that they have put us through. You know what I mean? I wouldn't feel bad at all.
Yeah, man, it's called the
karma.
Uno Reverso card. Do you know what I mean? It's like they try to do it on you. If it happens to them, of course you're going to relish that. It's a silly situation for us to find ourselves in the first place, and it shouldn't really be the case. But the only thing is, I don't think these reversal strikes. I'm not quite sure how they work when you reverse them. If does the person get a copyright strike on their channel?
It can.
Or
I think from what I was able to glean out of it. It just depends on the. It's almost like a YouTube discretion thing.
Yeah, so they make it
how
easier.
severe was it? So if we get someone that's fair, they're gonna see how ridiculous the whole thing is. Now, if we get someone that is more, well, this is a channel with around 5,000 subs,
exactly,
and this is a channel with quote unquote allegedly 700,000 subs.
Yeah.
That could play a factor in it too, and that's what I'm worried about. So I'm not worried about anything else. That's what I'm worried
against the little man. This is why this copyright system has been criticized so much, because it should be, in my opinion, if you file a false copyright strike against someone, or even a copyright strike against somebody mistakenly that gets successfully struck back on, successfully countered, I believe you should get a copyright strike against your channel for doing that, because you should not be doing these copyright strikes unless somebody is straight up re-uploading your content. Do you know what I mean? It's like, of course, there are definitely situations where fair use isn't a justification for what some people do. I think it's, every situation on its own merits, but if you just hit somebody and you haven't really got a case and you haven't considered whether it's fair use, and that person counters that strike through the correct process that they've been forced into doing, I think that should actually result in an actual copyright strike against the other person's channel, no questions asked. It shouldn't be treated any differently than if you had just not countered the initial strike. You would get a strike against your channel, like what happened the first time when you decided not to fight it. Because people don't realize it's a legal process you've got to go through. It's an absolute hassle.
You can't just hand them out like candy, man. It has to be taken seriously.
Situation to be in.
Yeah, and they're essentially what they're doing is a mockery of the copyright system.
Yeah,
they're not taking it
the
seriously.
absolute piss.
There's no grounds to it, and this is what I keep saying. If we get an honest YouTube rep, I think it's a slam dunk. I know it's a slam dunk. I know what's gonna happen. However, if we get someone that is more into the business side of things, that's the only worry that I have. And that's why I'm saying I'm cautiously optimistic, because without a doubt, their claims are absolute bullshit. No one looking at this objectively will think otherwise.
The way they've done this makes me think that they will now, they're stupid enough to try and take it to court.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Which that costs lawyers' fees, etc. Do you know, this is it pushes people into situations that take a lot of time and thought to actually have to go into, and I just think that it's just a ridiculous thing to do. What they could have done was asked you to take it down, or they could have gone to YouTube and said this violates the YouTube rules for these reasons, but they haven't done that. They've instead gone through the copyright system and filed a legal document.
But if you see his responses, their responses, essentially, I kind of want to give them the credit that they're not this stupid. They can't be this dumb. They can't be this idiotic. And then I see their responses, I'm like, fuck. Let's recap some of the stupidity real quick, because we're hitting up on an hour, but some of the stupid ass moves that they have done. Showing up to my live streams, doing the watermelon challenge, claiming the daddy video is part of a pedophile trap. I mean, the amount of stupidity, man. I used to say this all the time, and it's going to ring true right now. The trail of stupidity, man. So, and it rings true right now with this shit. Bogus ass copyrights because your feelings are hurt. Because I said you had nipple clamps. It's a fucking joke, man.
Saying that you've hacked his computer, taking images off his computer. That's just to accuse somebody of hacking someone else's computer in public. Do you know what I mean? Why are you saying these things?
Would you expect anything less from
I'm a cameraman.
From I'm a cameraman. Oh man, I don't know, man.
Dude, I just find it ridiculous. Like, my philosophy is don't take it off YouTube. Don't be so stupid. Like, just because you're losing the battle, there are ways of dealing with situations via YouTube. Do you know what I mean? Like, you don't need to just be going for the dirtiest trick possible. And I don't think this is going to work out well for them, to be honest with you.
I
putting
agree,
these strikes over, especially so many of them. That's multiple legal documents that they filed. It just seems stupid to me.
But again, the trail of stupidity, man. So we've already gave a very brief summary of the stupid ass moves they've done throughout the thing. So at this point, nothing really would surprise me. You know, they are prone to this kind of shit. So
they can't stop. They can't just let the tale of DaddyGate end at any point. They've got to keep adding. You know what I mean? They keep adding information to it. They keep coming on and telling us things that we didn't actually know before, and making missteps here and there. And we've got a very, very clear picture of the DaddyGate situation now, and it's a cover-up. It is an autistic, vulnerable woman who is being taken advantage of by somebody who is in a position of power over her, and this situation is now being attempted to be squashed by not only Sean Atwood but also by his guarantor, Mr.
Nipple-Clamp,
who is also now upset and filing copyright notices against you for things which are clearly fair use. And not only fair use, but the other thing that he's filing a copyright strike against you, he gave you permission to use. So you can't, that is going to get him into trouble in court. You can't give somebody permission to use an image in content featuring them and then copyright strike them for it, and then stand in front of a judge with a smile on your face saying, I did file that legal. You're going to lose, and you're going to have to pay costs, you know what I mean? And you might even get stung for, you know, there might be a penalty involved as well. You might have to pay a penalty as well as part of the judgment.
Ramifications. Well, that's the thing. They think they're taking it as a game. They're abusing this power. They're clearly abusing it, and they're treating it like it's not a big deal.
I think the legal system doesn't apply to them. The legal system is supposed to apply to everybody equally. When you're standing in court with James-Nipple-Clamps, for example, or your lawyers are, you're both equal in that court, and the facts will be decided by the judge.
Yeah. Oh boy. Well, this is a continuing story. I'm sure newer events will happen, and we'll definitely be covering it. I mean, this is what
the fun and games continue, man. The fun and games, as I like to say, it's all fun and games. But it's all fun and games until somebody falls and scrapes their knee and then doesn't want to play anymore. And I think that's what happened.
Nipple-Clamps cause irreversible hickeys. I don't know.
Yeah, the nipple clamp gets pulled out and then they don't want to play anymore.
The ball bat.
But that's mockery. You're allowed to mock, you know. And again, as you sort of alluded to earlier, imagine a world where you couldn't criticize, but imagine a world where you couldn't mock other people as well. We're allowed to mock people, especially when they have fired the first shots and started mocking us first.
We didn't even know about this guy until he came on our onto our channels talking shit. We didn't know about this guy.
Didn't know who he was.
And this isn't the first time this happened. Many, like, we get winds of these characters, and then, like, we don't even know who these people are. And then when we start criticizing, we start firing back. Oh, you're cyberbullying me. Oh my God. It's over and over. I'm fed up with it, man. It's a fucking joke with these clowns. Top to bottom, man.
Just prepare for the false police reports coming next. You know what I mean? It's just, they're going to do false legal documents this way, then it's going to be false police reports.
What did I tell you?
It's not going to end up the way they want it to.
What did I tell you yesterday? Yesterday, I was in Clearwater, Florida. And I passed by the sign and I flipped it off. And I said, and the context behind it was Mr. Ball Gag or Mr. Nipple-Clamps told me that he was going to call his law enforcement buddies on me in Tampa or Clearwater, Florida. So I was in the area and I flipped off the sign. I go, where's your little law enforcement buddies? They don't scare me, dude. This shit's hilarious.
What's law enforcement? American law enforcement isn't isn't going to respond
Fuck
to that
no,
kind
man.
of call.
And the thing is, man, I've said this before. I used to be a firefighter. You don't think I had law enforcement buddies myself?
Exactly.
You don't. I have family members that are law enforcement. So what's
Yep.
your fucking point? It's a fucking joke, man. It's empty threats and just silly ass intimidation tactics. That's all it is, man. That's why it doesn't bother me, and that's why I just laugh about it instead. It's a fucking
Yeah, and
joke.
they try and mix in, they are aware that their messages are getting screenshotted, so they try and word them cleverly. So it's like they'll try and use the word law enforcement, and then they'll say that they're going to get people to track you down, they're going to get people to track me down. But the way they word it, it's as if you don't get the police to track someone down. Do you know what I mean? You just contact the police. So to say that you're going to get somebody to track someone down, that could be taken as a threat by somebody who wanted to take it as a threat. And you have to take it with all the other evidence as well as to whether you want to take it as a threat. Something maybe I'd have to think about, to be honest with you, although it hasn't come to me yet. I haven't had any messages from James himself directly, so I'm not going to take it as a threat just now. But if somebody sent me a message saying I'm going to have people track you down and find you, I'd be reporting that to the police and saying, just to make you aware, I've had this and I'm taking it as a threat. Can you please record it so that it's there if I need to phone, Yeah. That's what happens when you take things off YouTube. It's just silly. This situation is not even that big publicly, unfortunately. But we're talking about a situation. If this situation was big publicly, they would really regret sending that kind of messages, because it just adds such bad faith, such a bad look to what they're doing in the background, and it really does add so much more to the picture if it ever does get to the stage of court, law enforcement, police, etc. You've got all these things that can be shown, and the police, no matter what you think of them, will figure out what's going on. Do you know what I mean? They're not just going to suddenly take one side of the story. They know when they get spiteful people phoning them all the time, trying to get other people into trouble. They know what to look for.
Yeah, I mean, you don't want to waste anyone's time, man. And they don't want. They're just like us. They don't want their time wasted either. And if you come in with bullshit, they're not gonna be too happy about it. It's gonna backfire
you might
on
find
your
it
ass.
stings you, exactly. So it's just silly, and it's not a situation I want to be in. It's not a situation you want to be in, and I'm sure it's not a situation Sean Atwood wants to be in, or James wants to be in.
Mr. Nipple-Clamp. But we'll find out, man. All right, man. Where can people find you, my buddy?
Well, we are sitting with a couple of different accounts now. So Chancer's Paradise, I would ask people to go and subscribe to Chancer's Paradise first and foremost, just in case my channel comes down in an avalanche of copyright strikes like yours is looking like it might soon, after this ridiculous bullshit has all happened, because they definitely might get a little bit cocky after this. But Chancer's Paradise is there, and that's where I'll be re-uploading my content, and anything I upload onto that, I'm going to put a disclaimer on that says please mirror this, because at that point it becomes just a point where, go ahead, just mirror the videos all over the place, because it's important that they get out. So Chancer's Paradise, link in the description. Odyssey, I'll put a link in the description to Odyssey as well. I spoke about that earlier. Definitely go over there and subscribe. It's a good alternative as well to YouTube, and Chancer on YouTube as well as my main channel. So definitely go over there and subscribe, because we love it. It makes us happy, and it makes Sean Atwood sad. So
Yeah, man. So I got my main channel still, What is Truth What is Truth Podcast. That's my main channel. As of this recording, it is still active. I just can't do anything from it. I can't live stream. I can't upload. I can make community posts. But keep subscribing. And if you see it disabled, give it a few days. I will give an update one way or the other, whether it's been 100% terminated or if my counterclaims were 100% successful. I'll give an update one way or the other.
yeah, we'll make sure that information gets out to people on this channel as well. So,
Yeah.
or depending on which channel this goes on, but subscribe to the DaddyGate podcast as well, because that's where we'll be doing announcements like that.
100%. Then I have my secondary channel, What is Truth live streams. I'll put the description or the link in the description, so you guys would love to have you guys there. It's been awesome seeing how quick it's grown, and people, are seeing it firsthand. It's not me just
Yeah,
exaggerating.
and you're getting like 5 or 6 times your sub count watching your videos. You know what I mean? It's crazy.
It's awesome, man.
Which is why people should subscribe.
Yeah, just if you're watching it, just smash that motherfucking subscribe button. And obviously, you can always follow me on the whatever podcast player of your choice. What is Truth Podcast? You can follow this podcast as well, the DaddyGate podcast. Although I've been kind of lagging behind, but I'll get that updated as well. So we'll catch you on the next one, y'all. And thank you guys so much for listening. Much love to every single one of y'all.
Thanks for listening, folks.
Peace.